Namaskaram everyone. Welcome back to the 38th episode of our Master Unreal series. In the last episode, I showed you an example of multi-tap system where we implemented single tap and double tap for our door, where we try to open door from a single tap, then we press double tap to kick the door, and in this episode, we are going to target the hold functionality. So in this particular episode, I'm going to wrap up the interaction system that we built. If you haven't watched the last few episodes, please do check them out because there are a lot of foundational concepts that we have covered in a very great detail, and it will be very difficult for you to catch up if you haven't watched the previous episodes of the interaction system. So the link might be appearing in the card section. It shows only the interaction system episodes. I have also separated the Master Unreal series separate playlist in case you only want to watch a specific chapter like interaction system, inventory, or locomotion. And if you want to watch the full series, that link is always there in the description. And as usual, the assets are available on Discord. You can download it from there. It's absolutely free. The joining link of Discord is in the description as well. So without wasting any time, let's get started. All right, so we are in our editor now. Let's go to our architecture, and this is the door blueprint. We will create another architecture that is bench. I'll import. So this is the bench mesh. You can download it from Discord. I will provide its individual link. And make sure the offset uniform scale is 100 and offset rotation is set to 90 just to import it correctly, because the scale is very less and the rotation is also not correct. So we'll fix it at the time of importing. So you have your bench mesh. All right, I hope you are able to see better now. I will go for a blueprint class actor b underscore bench. And now we will open it up. We will place this bench mesh inside this default scene root. We'll compile and we will select this blueprint and bring it right here. Great. Now we need to make it interactable. So as discussed in the last episodes, what we will do is go to this bench blueprint, class settings, implemented interface, BLI underscore interactable. All right. Now this particular interactable, that is bench, it has only hold functionality like we discussed in the previous episode. It has no single tap, no double tap. So in the interact function, you will leave it as it is. That means it is not implemented. As you all know, if we open the gameplay ability, interact, select the content and then you can locate it easily. We are checking whether the actor is available to interact or not. So first we will implement this function. Let's go with the flow. Create a variable b is allowed to interact, and then we will connect it here. Okay, so this will give the result whether it is allowed or not. And then in the hold type, we will say you have to hold for 1 second and then the interaction will be triggered, and we will mark this true, which means the hold is implemented by this particular interactable. Compile. And now we will close other tabs, and now we have to implement the hold interact. So I'll double click on this. We also need to implement the onInteract over interrupted. So just double click on them and they will be available for you to implement. So if I go to gameplay ability, we will pass this, tap will not happen. Then we will check this, it will be true. So we will start tracking the hold. We will start listening. And now here we will get the payload, and then we will call this hold interact. So now in the hold interact, we also need to pass the actor who is interacting. So I'll go to interactable, and in the hold interact, I'll add an input, call it instigator, or you can call it something else. I'll call it actor type, compile, and now it will be available in the GA interact. You can use the instigator pin and connect this. Okay. Compile, and it will be available in bench as well. As you got here in the input, you will receive it here. Now when this will trigger, I will first call the onInteract because the interaction has begun. So call it from BLI interactable because this is the interface that is implemented by the bench and we want to call this one. So this onInteract is this. Make sure the target is BLI interactable. Once this is done, this will call this event. So we will set the interaction allowed to false. That means the interaction has begun. No one else is allowed to interact till this interaction is over. Once this is done, I would like to position the character right here so that it can sit. But before this, we need the animation. So we will go in the project. You can download it from Discord under content, characters, mannequins, animations, and NPC animations. You will find a lot of animations. Select this one, sitting idle, sit to stand, and stand to sit. These three. Right click and then go for migrate. Once you do the migrate, deselect everything and just select the NPC animations. Press OK. Select your project in the Unreal projects, go to content folder and select. Now these will be migrated. You can close this. In the characters, mannequins, animations, you will find the animations. Select all of them, move inside the actions folder that we have in the animations folder. Now you will find these three. So first let's enable the root motion. I'll select all three and in the asset actions, edit selection, check all these three, save it. And now we will create montages. But before this, we have to figure out the position. So if I go to window and my viewport is not selected, so I was not able to see. Now I will create a scene component. I will call it position to start. Okay. And now we will place our position to start somewhere here. Like we did in the door blueprint, you can also add the skeletal mesh and attach it to the default scene root. And the skeleton was SK many. If you are following the series, you have the SWAT soldier that was part of a giveaway. You can select that as well. And then here use the animation asset and select the stand to sit and bring it here. Okay. Now the character is going inside. So this can happen with you when you are importing assets from different sources. So this has to be tackled in a different style. I'll tell you, but for now just assume that this is the position where the character will be moved and this animation will start playing. So for now, let's delete this skeletal mesh because the technique that we used in the door blueprint by positioning this character will not work here. So I'll just remove it. And assuming that you have the correct position, which we will set later, I will first position this player or character to this position. So for this, I'll go to my door blueprint where we have the position actor implementation. Let's copy this entire logic. If you haven't checked out the interaction system episodes, please check them out because I have explained in a very great detail how you can create this function and how you can move the character. So copy this, and in this bench blueprint, we will create a function position actor and we will place it here. Now, since in this case you can only sit from the front side, there is no need to handle the front and back or the mirroring logic that we had in the door because the door can be opened from both the sides, remember? But in this case, there is no such thing. So we will remove the logic of mirroring. I will delete this. I'll also remove this and I'll just get this position to start, connect it here. Okay. And now we need the character. So let's connect this here and name it instigator. And this is what will be connected here. And you can delete this one and get instigator. Make sure this function sign is there that represents this function variable. Connect it, connect this. Okay, compile. So first we will call the onInteract, then we will position this actor, that is the player. After this is done, we will get the mesh so that we can play the animation montage. I will get skeletal mesh. This is the interface function that we implemented in the last episode. And now we will play animation montage. So play montage. Now we need to create the montage. Go to animations, actions. Here in stand to sit, right click, create animation montage, move it inside montages, and now double click. And this should be default slot or whatever full body slot you have because both upper body and lower body are involved. So we will not split. So save it. Go to bench, and now you can select this one and bring it here by pressing on this icon. Great. Now you receive the animation. Now we would like to know the interruption and completion. So for this, we have these events. We will call them here. And now we will call on interaction interrupted. Make sure you are calling it from BLI Interactable, because this is the interface that is implemented by this blueprint of bench. And this is what we are going to call. So we are going to call this here. And again, do the same for on interaction over from BLI Interactable. Now we pass the instigator to them. So R. Okay. Now they will call these events. And now here first we will notify the actor, that is our player, that interaction is interrupted or over. So this time we will use on interaction over from the receiver, because our character has implemented this. So I'll call this, then on interaction interrupted from BLI receiver, we will call this. Once these events are fired, the character is notified. Now we will allow the interaction again for other players. So we will set allowed to interact to true in both the cases. And make sure B is allowed to interact is set to true. Otherwise you will not be able to interact when the actor spawns in the world. Now if I play and hold E, you see I'm still holding E and it is fluctuating. It's not actually fluctuating because I'm still holding the E key. It is continuously playing the animation, this animation montage. Why? That is because in the interact, when you pass this event from the interaction manager, you keep calling this hold. And once you cross the required hold time, then you will start calling it again and again. Now we cannot stop it, because in your game there could be two different situations. One where you just want to know if you have crossed the threshold and then you just want to do one thing. You do not want to repeat it. And the second scenario is like, for example, pushing a box or pulling a box. In that case, you constantly want to know that you are holding the key. So you constantly want to call this. So this is a Interactable's personal requirement. So we cannot code that logic in the ability. So what we'll do in the bench, when you call this hold interact from the ability, we will check if the interaction is allowed or not. Why I'm saying this is because when you will cross the threshold for the first time, this will be called, and this onInteract will set it to false, and then it will start playing the animation. Then the event will be fired again, and now we will check if the interaction is allowed. Only if it is allowed, then we will go. So now this is set to false by this, so you cannot go further when the second event is fired. Okay, so we hit compile. Now if I play and hold E, you can see it is now sitting. It's not replaying it, but the direction is not correct. The reason is in the position actor, we have to change this Z to 90 degrees now, because we are rotating the character. Now if I hold the E, you can see I'm able to sit, but I'm not able to move my mouse because of our disable rotation from this function that we implemented in the interaction system episode of our door. So why we did this earlier was because in the case of door, the door and the door opening animation and the character itself all are from three different places, and they are not fully in sync in terms of proportions. So when you grab the handle, you do not want to see that the fingers are going little inside. So that's the reason we disabled the mouse rotation. But in case of bench, there is no such thing. There's no weird detail. We should be able to move our mouse even when we are sitting, right? So for this, what I will do in the kinematics layer, search under the content, we will add another pin in the input. Okay, it's my bad. My camera was not on because the NVIDIA was off. Okay, never mind. So first we will enable the input. So I will add a new input pin, and here I will call disable free look. Okay, so now you have choice. First, you want to disable the rotation so that our turn in place is not affected. Second, disabling the free look, that is the mouse rotation. So this is the optional parameter. So I'll compile. I'll go back to our bench. Now here we'll say don't use the controller rotation, false, and also do not disable the free look. But now in the door, we have to make the refactoring. So we'll go to event graph. In the prepare actor, position actor, here we will say disable the free look and do not use the controller rotation, and compile it. Now in the third person character, I'll go in the blueprints. We implemented this interface. Now we don't need to use this output. Instead, we have the individual pin. So I'll connect this here. Okay. Now we hit compile. We go back to our bench. And now if I play, hold E, you will be able to rotate your mouse. But now you will see it was not sitting at the correct place. This is happening because the bench is pushing the character because of its collision properties. Now this can happen to you with assets, with certain assets that you make or import from different places. So to resolve this kind of situation, what you can do is disable the collision. That means no collision. But now the problem is if I say no collision, then I can pass through the mesh. So something has to block. And if I'm able to pass through the mesh, you can see my trace is not detecting this interactable, that is bench, and I can pass through as well. So we want to avoid both cases. So what I'll do, I'll add a box collider. Make sure you are adding it in the same hierarchy. If you wrap the bench in the box collider like this, then you will not be able to resize the box. If you do, you will end up distorting the mesh. So Control Z, make sure they are in same hierarchy. And now you can scale it and wrap it exactly and precisely. Okay, now you have perfect wrap. And in the box, I will say custom and block everything, which means include the visibility trace. Remember in the interaction manager, we were using detect interactables, which was using the visibility trace channel. So if the actor doesn't block this channel, then it will not be considered as a hit and you will not be able to detect. So for this, I'll go back to my bench and I'll set everything to block, including the visibility. But now if I play, I'll have the same issue. This is again detecting, but it will push me the way mesh was pushing. So to avoid this, what we'll do, so the primary purpose of this box is to allow detection. Once the detection is over, or basically once the actor is detected and you start playing the animation, we will make it no collision. That means this will not collide with you. So what I'm trying to say is if you go to event graph and when the onInteract begins, you get this box set collision enabled to no collision. That means do not collide with the character. And once the interaction is over or interrupted, we will set it back to query and physics. That means collision is enabled. Compile. Okay. Now if I try to play, I'm able to detect, hold E, and now it's able to sit. But now you see it stand up all of a sudden. So we have sit to stand animation. We will use that instead. When do we use that? We use that with the blend out. So before this, let me first create the montage. I'll go to actions, sit to stand, right click, create animation montage, drag it in the montages, open it up, and you have your animation montage. Now you can go to bench. Now when the animation is over, there are two things happening. First happens the blend out, second happens the on completed event. Blend out means the animation is over. Now it is transitioning to your animation blueprints state, which is the idle. But we do not want to transition to idle because otherwise it will suddenly go standing. So what we want, we will say, don't blend out to the locomotion state that we have in our animation blueprint. We are providing another animation to transition. So what we will do, first break these pins and give some space to breathe. And here, play another animation montage. play montage, and we need the skeletal mesh. So I'll double click, connect it here. Let's bring these, and now we will select this montage and select this arrow to bring this here. Now we will place it to stand, and then you transition to locomotion idle state. So we will connect the on completed here and the on interrupted here. And let's break this pin. Instead, let's connect it like this. Compile and play again. Hold E. Now you can see I sit and then I stand. But now you see I'm having my leg like this because as soon as the interaction is over, the collision is enabled and now you are having this thing. So for this, we can do a small trick that can prevent this issue. What I'll do is I'll go to bench blueprints. When we will complete the interaction, I will push the character a little further. So for this, I'll get this instigator and I'll call set actor location and I'll set it here and I have to push in the Y direction. So I'll just push it slightly, let's say by 10. And before setting it, I have to get the current location and add Y in that. And I'll get actor location. I'll perform an add. I'll add 10 in Y direction and then I will plug it here. Actually, let's make it 20. Okay, now play. Hold the. Okay, now it is better. Great. So now you can do this same thing in the onInteract over and interrupted as well. So see, this is the beauty of having events separated so that you can execute your custom logic. So I'll set it like this. I'll get the instigator. Okay, and to get the instigator, these are two different pins. So we have to separate the logic. What I will do is create a custom event, push character. Since this is purely for character, I will break this. I'll bring it here, connect it with this, and I will connect this actor here. Okay, now you can call this here. So break these two pins, push character, duplicate this, and now rename it to or actor, let's say. And now I can double click. Okay, and now you can connect this. And don't forget to plug this actor here as well. Compile, play, hold E, and now you can move your mouse to see properly, and now you're back. Okay. Okay, before I end this episode, let's quickly address the issue, the root cause. I don't know if how many of you are able to think, but if you open the third person character and select this capsule and search for hidden in game and just disable it, compile and play, now you are able to see the capsule. So this is the core reason why you are not able to sit on the bench without disabling the collision. But if you are having a multiplayer game, then in that case, if you disable the collision of this bench and the box around it, till the character is sitting or standing up or going stand to sit, then other players can pass through because you have disabled the collision. So that means for multiplayer games, this solution is not suitable. However, if your game is not too complex and simple, then you can definitely go for that. But in this case, for multiplayer people, this is not practical. So what we will do in the bench, this will serve both single player and multiplayer. I'll delete this box and I'll delete this bench. First I'll compile and then I'll get back this bench. You have all block, all dynamic. Now if you hit compile, and here you should remove these two. Now if you compile and check the viewport, it is fine. And now we will just disable the collision for our capsule. But if we disable the collision for this capsule, then there is a problem. Because if we disable it, let's say someone fires a bullet or someone grabs you, they won't be able to do it because this capsule is no longer detecting the collisions and you will not be considered as a character or as a pawn. So that's not a good thing to do. So the solution for this is we will disable the collision for this bench actor. So the way to do it is first we will do this in the onInteract. So I'll search for my interactable, and in the onInteract I'll add the actor in the input, call it instigator, and we should change this to actor object reference. Now if you hit compile, go back to bench. Now here what you can do is get the component by class. This will give you the capsule. So this capsule component, we will get it. Now we know this will be for sure character, but still if you have chance that you can miss or make mistakes, just go for is valid node. Although it's not needed, but still I'll just show you the right way. It's better to check. Now once you receive the capsule collision, you will go for ignore actor when moving. So we will ignore this bench actor when we are playing the sit animation. So it will no longer push you because you are simply ignoring the collision, your capsule basically. So get the reference to self and connect this, and should ignore should be set to true. This will happen before you start the animation. So let's connect the instigator here. And once it is interrupted or completed, we will re-enable it. And I will rename this push character to OnInteraction ended. We will take back this actor. We will get component by class and get the capsule collider, and then ignore actor when moving, and we should not ignore this bench anymore because the interaction is over. So get reference to self. So now this capsule collider of the player will not ignore the self, that is the bench. Compile. If you play, hold E, and also change this bench collision preset to block all, okay, so that you don't end up stepping on it by collision. So now if I hold E, you can see I'm able to sit and stand up. Now it's no longer colliding at the time of sitting, but now it is. You see the collider? If I hold E again, you see my collision is passing through. If I get back up, I'm good. Okay, and now compile, go to third person and make sure this capsule collider hidden in game is set to true. Alright, so that's it for this episode. Your capsule is gone. Now you're back to your normal game situation. And this is it for the interaction system. Now we will just implement different use cases just to show you how you can scale this interaction system for different use cases. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how you can keep sitting on bench till you do not press your movement key. And we are also going to use our tag manager that we built in the episode 5 and 6, which was completely a different kind of implementation instead of using the ability system. So in the next episode, this is what we are going to cover. We are going to learn how to manage the interaction session based on the events. Okay. So till then, take care, like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and do let me know if you have any comments, suggestions, or feedback. In case you haven't joined our Discord community, please do join, and the link of that is in the description. And I have also started our Patreon page in case if you want to support, that is always there. And I'll see you in the next video. Till then, take care. Bye bye.